Consider yourself in a difficult situation. Perhaps it has to do with money, love, or simply feeling like you need a little luck. You make the decision to look for a healer who is respected in your community, a spiritual mentor, or someone who can assist. You believe this person has the ability to improve your life, so you put your trust in them. But what if that trust was completely misplaced? What if the person you went to for guidance had a secret, a dark and disturbing ambition that had absolutely nothing to do with helping you, and everything to do with gaining power for themselves in the most horrifying way imaginable? Today, we're going to travel to the outskirts of Medan, the capital city of North Sumatra in Indonesia. We're here to talk about a man who was known as a powerful shaman. Over 40 women sought his help, hoping for a better future, but what they found instead was a nightmare orchestrated by a man driven by a bizarre and terrifying belief that he could gain ultimate power by consuming the saliva of his victims. But before we get into this truly strange and disturbing story, I'd like to kindly ask you to take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are able to keep providing you with stories like this one because of your support. Our story begins with a man named Ahmad Suradji, born in North Sumatra, Indonesia on January 10, 1949. He also went by the aliases Nasib Klewang and Datuk Meringgi. If you looked at his life from the outside, you might have seen a simple cattle breeder, a seemingly ordinary man. But Suradji's early life was anything but ordinary. He was described as a restless youth who had trouble connecting with others. By the time he was 19, he had his first serious run-in with the law, which landed him in prison for 10 years for violent behaviour. After that, there were more arrests for things like theft and property damage. It was clear from a young age that Suradji had a problem with authority and a disregard for the rules. But after his time in prison, something changed. Suradji decided to reinvent himself. He became a Dukun, which is an Indonesian term for a shaman or a spiritual healer. He claimed to have supernatural abilities and began to practice sorcery. Now, it's important to understand that in many parts of Indonesia, especially in rural areas, belief in the paranormal and spiritual healers is very strong. People often go to shamans for help with everything from health problems to financial troubles, and Suradji was good at playing the part. He became a respected figure in his community. He volunteered, he contributed to local causes, and soon, people were recommending his services to their friends and family. He even had 3 wives, who were all sisters, and one of them, a woman named Tumini, would later become his accomplice. This man was building a foundation of trust, a reputation that would make what he did next even more shocking. Sometime around 1986, Suradji claimed to have a dream that would change everything. In this dream, he said his deceased father came to him with a disturbing message. To become an invincible mystic healer, to gain unbelievable power, he had to drink the saliva of 70 dead women. The detail about consuming saliva is so specific, so unsettling. But in Suradji's mind, this was his divine calling. He later explained that his father hadn't specifically told him to harm anyone, just to collect the saliva of 70 women. But Suradji figured that finding 70 women who had already passed away would take far too long. So he decided to speed up the process himself. For him, murder was just a shortcut to power. And so, his horrifying quest began. For the next 11 years, from 1986 to 1997, Ahmad Suradji would lure women to his home with the promise of a better life. They came to him seeking prosperity, beauty, or help with their relationships, often in moments of sheer desperation. He targeted women between the ages of 11 and 30, and he even charged them hundreds of dollars for his services, profiting from their pain even as he planned their deaths. It's also believed that many of his victims may have been sex workers, people whose disappearances might go unnoticed for longer. His method was a chilling ritual of deception. He would lead his victims to a sugarcane field right next to his house in Desa Sei Semayang telling them it was a necessary part of the spell. There, he would convince them to get into a hole in the ground, sometimes waist deep, sometimes up to their shoulders, telling them it was a temporary alive burial ritual that was essential for the magic to work. And because he was a trusted shaman, they complied. Once they were in the ground, completely vulnerable, he would strike. He strangled them with a cable and then performed the final gruesome part of his ritual. He would consume their saliva, believing it was the source of their life force, the key to his ultimate power. After they were gone, he would strip them of their clothes to speed up decomposition, and then bury them, always making sure their heads were pointing towards his house, a detail he believed would funnel even more magical energy directly to him. He instructed his clients to tell no one about their visit, claiming secrecy was vital for the spells to work. This, combined with the fact that many of his victims were from marginalised communities, created a perfect cover of silence. For over a decade he continued to operate, but in April of 1997, his reign of terror would finally come to an end, all because of one young woman. Her name was Sri Kamala Dewi. At 21 years old, she was a mother to a 2-month-old daughter and was desperate for a better life. Some reports suggest she was having trouble with her husband and believed the shaman could help her fix her marriage. On the evening of April 24th, 1997, she hailed a 15-year-old rickshaw driver named Andreas. She was hesitant to say where she was going, but eventually told him she needed to see Datuk, Suradji's alias. Andreas, the rickshaw driver, later recalled that Dewi seemed anxious. She made him promise not to tell anyone where he was taking her. He dropped her off at the shaman's house and watched her walk inside. It was the last time anyone, besides Suradji and his wife, would see her alive. 3 days passed. The local community was small and word travels fast. Andreas heard that a young woman was missing, and he knew something was terribly wrong. Overcoming his fear and likely going against the promise he made to Dewi, he made the brave decision to go to the police. He told them everything. His testimony was the key that unlocked the entire case. When the police searched Suradji's home, they found Dewi's handbag, her dress, and a bracelet, along with items belonging to other missing women. At first, he and his wife Tumini denied everything, claiming they were tortured by police into confessing. But eventually, he admitted to 16 killings, and then the full, horrifying number: 42. His confession led to one of the most gruesome crime scenes imaginable. Investigators brought heavy machinery to the sugarcane field next to his house and began to dig. For days, they unearthed remains. One body, then another, then another. Skulls and bones tangled together in the earth. In the end, they recovered the remains of 42 different women. Because of the time that had passed and the limited technology, most of them could never be identified, leaving dozens of families in a state of permanent uncertainty, forever wondering if their missing daughter or sister was among those found in the field. The trial began in December 1997 in Lubuk Pakam and was a sensation, with massive crowds gathering outside the courthouse demanding justice. On April 27, 1998, Ahmad Suradji was found guilty and sentenced to death. His wife Tumini was also initially sentenced to death, but this was later reduced to life in prison. On July 10, 2008, Ahmad Suradji was executed by firing squad. That sugarcane field next to his house has also been removed permanently. Thank you so much for joining me today into this truly bizarre and disturbing case. What are your thoughts on this chilling story? Don't forget to share in the comments down below, and I will see you soon in the next one.